Hello everyone. In this video, we will derive quadratic equations from verbal statements. In previous lesson, we solved for quadratic equations and then we found two solutions for x. Because the quadratic equation, the highest exponent for x is 2, therefore we must have two solutions for x. So we can solve for quadratic equation by factoring. Okay, so let's say we have a quadratic equation, and once we factor that, we end up with x plus 7 multiply x plus 9. Because quadratics has three terms, right? So ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. And because of factoring, we end up with the product of two binomials. So in this particular statement here, you can see that x is equal to negative 7 and x is equal to 9, right? Because we apply the argument for the knowledge of products. So in order for you to have x plus 7 multiplied by x minus 9 and is equal to 0. In order for you to have this side equal to 0, then one of this has to be equal to 0. So one term has to be equal to 0, so that when you multiply with the 0, you end up with a 0. Alright, so because of that argument, you can say that x plus 7 equal to 0. Therefore, you can have x equal to negative 7. Or, okay, the word or is very important, okay? X minus 9 equal to 0. Therefore, you have x equal to 9. So those are the two conclusions that you have from this equation to pull out the two solutions for x. So how do we derive a quadratic from this? From giving us the solution. So in here I have x equal to minus 7 and x is equal to 9. So then what I have to do is I have to write the quadratic equation from the following roots. Okay, so it's actually very logical in the form that you need to know what type of equation that you have. Okay, so I see here that I have x equal to minus 7. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm turning this into an equation where the right hand side is equal to 0. So that means x plus 7 is equal to 0. Right? Okay, very logical. And then I have x equal to 9. I turn that into x minus 9 equal to 0. So now what I'm going to do is I will multiply these two equations together. So this equation 1 and that equation 2. So what I do is I will multiply equation 1 and equation number 2. Okay, so when I multiply this, I have x plus 7 multiply with x minus 9, and the other side is the 0 multiply the 0, so it's equal to 0. So now you almost turn this into a quadratic equation already. Don't forget we talk about equation that we will have both sides. Okay, in terms of quadratic equation, the right hand side of this quadratic has to be equal to 0. Okay, so now all you have to do is just expand the term. Okay, so I multiply this in, I have x squared minus 9x plus 7x subtract 63 equal to 0. And then I combine this two middle term. I have x squared minus 2x minus 63 equal to 0. Okay, so this is the quadratic equation that they asked me to write or derive from x equal to negative 7 and x equal to 9. Alright, so the logical steps are behind this because you treat this as an equation. Okay, so you move this to the other side, let this right hand side equal to 0, so x plus 7 equal to 0, and then here x minus 9 equal to 0. Multiply both equations, that's what you have. Okay, so this concept is very important because it leads to the next example, which is a little bit more complicated, where you are having solution for x as a fraction. Okay, so how do we work with this? That means you are going to turn this into equation 1, you turn this into equation 2, and both of these equations, the right hand side has to be equal to 0. So x equal to -3/5. Okay, so what I'm going to do is you multiply 5 over to the other side, right? So you have 5x equal to -3. And then what you do is you are going to write 5x plus 3 equal to 0. So this is your equation number 1. And you do the same thing for this solution. X equal to 9/11. So you have 11 times x equal to 9. So you have 11x subtract 9 equal to 0. So you turn this into equation number 2. And both sides of this equation is actually equal to 0. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply equation 1 with equation 2. So here equation 1 and equation number 2. Okay, so multiply this to the left hand side, multiply with the left hand side, the right hand side multiply with the right hand side. So 5x plus 3 multiply with 11x subtract 9, and the other side 0 times 0 is equal to 0. The most important part of the quadratic is that when you must have the right hand side equal to 0 before you can even do anything. You can use factoring to solve for it, or you can use quadratic formula to solve for it. Okay, so the most important part is this 0. Therefore, you have to turn this into equation, the right hand side equal to 0, turn this into with the right hand side equal to 0, and the next step is to expand and multiply. Okay, multiply each term. So right here I should get 55x squared minus 45x plus 33x subtract 27 equal to 0. Combine the two middle term. I should have 55x squared subtract 12x equal minus 27 equal to 0. Alright, so you can always double check to see if you got this right or wrong. Okay, double check by factoring, or you can use quadratic formulas to figure this out, the solution for this. Alright, okay. So quadratic formulas, I just want to remind everyone that if you have ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, the quadratic formulas is x equal to minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Okay, so if you want to double check your work to see if you actually have this equation correct, 55x squared minus 12x minus 27 equal to 0, all you can do is just define a as 55, b as negative 12, c is negative 27, substitute into these formulas to figure out if you end up with the solutions as x equal to -3/5 and x equal to 9/11. Alright, okay, so I think it's a good idea. I do have some time, so I can work with this as well. Okay, so before I do this, I am going to rewrite my equation again. Then I will okay, so now what we have is a equal to 55, okay, b equal to minus 12, and c equal to minus 27. So whenever I solve for a quadratic equation, I always find the discriminant first. That means b squared minus 4ac. From the b squared minus 4ac, I can determine what type of solution that I'm going to have. So now I have minus 12 all of it squared, subtract 4 times 55 and times minus 27. Okay, so you can use a calculator to work alongside with me here. So this should be 144. Okay, negative times negative should give me a plus. So 4 times 55 times 27, this one should give me this number. Okay, adding this 2, I should have this number. Okay, now you are going to take the square root of this one. Okay, so the square root of this answer I should have as 78. Okay, so let's substitute that into our x. X1 will be equal to minus b. So minus b plus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Okay, so minus b will be minus of minus 12 plus square root of 60a4. Okay, that should be 78, but 2 times 55. Okay, so what we have is we should have plus 12. So negative will make it a positive. So there will be a 12 plus the 78 divided by 55 times 2 should be 110. Okay, so x1 is equal to 78 plus 12. That should give me 90 over 110. Okay, so you can simplify this by divide it by 10, divide this by 10, so it's 9 over 11. Okay, so one solution already. And the next solution, x2, it will be I will take it from here, right? I take this from here. So that will be positive 12. Subtract 78 divided by 110. Okay, so 12 subtract 78 should give me negative 66 divide 110. Okay, so this one I can see that I can reduce my equation by divide this by 22. Okay, so negative 66 divided by 22, 110 divided by 22, negative 66 divided by 22. You can see that it gives you negative 3, and this should give you 5. Right? Okay, very good. So there's a two solution, 9 over 11, negative 3 and 5 will make up this quadratic equation. Okay, so it's a good idea to double check to see if you get it correct or not. And it also give me the opportunity to review to everyone how to work with quadratic formulas. Okay. So one thing I want to mention here is my discriminant. There's a discriminant defined as b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so this one will give me the two distinct solutions for x, because this one is actually greater than 0. So I will have two different solutions for x, and that is the one, and that is another one. And given the solution, you can easily find the quadratic equation from this. So that should give you the equation 1, equation 2, multiply the two equations. Make sure that when you multiply, this side has to be equal to 0. Okay, so this is very important. That quadratic formulas works as ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. So that equal to 0 is very important before you can apply the quadratic formulas. All right. Thank you, everyone. There's practice for you to work on. Okay, I have the practice here for you to follow, and it's very much similar to the example that I have completed. Okay, thank you again.